Welcome back to another episode of ROC Boys Football. On this Monday morning, we are doing a little mock draft Monday for the Atlanta Falcons, the next team on our list, as we're trying to get through all these 32 teams mock drafts before the 2022 NFL Draft. Before we get into the video, I just wanted to say I appreciate all the support. 740 subscribers on the channel, making a push for that 1,000 mark. But you guys have shown absolutely awesome support. The comments, the likes, the subscriptions, very, very much appreciated by the boys. And let's get into this Atlanta Falcons 2022 NFL mock draft. So the Falcons are starting with pick 8. They have a couple options. Obviously, quarterback is certainly on the board. Last mock we did for the Atlanta Falcons, we took Malik Willis, kind of kicked off that rebuild. I don't know if I'm going to be reaching on Malik Willis this draft. Again, the more I evaluate the quarterbacks, the more I'm just kind of out on taking a quarterback that high. Now, I think a Travon Walker, as much as I'm not a huge fan of Travon Walker, I think he's a great fit in Atlanta. Again, it's definitely a developmental year for the Falcons. They're not going to make the playoffs. They're not winning the Super Bowl. And Travon Walker is a developmental guy. I mean, you saw how he tested at the combine. Elite athleticism, elite traits. He just hasn't quite put it together on Georgia. However, the more I watch him, the more he has good film. It's just there's limited opportunity to fill up the stat sheet when you're playing on Georgia. There's a lot of guys to make plays on that team, on the defensive line, at the linebacker spot. And Travon Walker is going to address the two things the Atlanta Falcons struggle with most on the defense side of the ball. One, they can't stop the run. Two, they can't get after the passer. It's a bad recipe for having a good defense. Guess what? Travon Walker is going to be good at both. Yeah, you'd like to see a little bit more pass rush production, and that's why I'm not comfortable taking him in the top 5. But as you get down to this pick 8, Travon Walker is going to immediately make this run defense a little bit better. He's going to make the job easier for those linebackers to come up and make plays. I mean, he stands up tackles better than anybody else. He's extremely powerful. He's extremely explosive. I think this is a very good fit. Again, I'm not the biggest Travon Walker fan there is, but I do think it's a good pick at number 8 where you're not reaching on him in the top 5 to go get him. I think he needs a year to kind of fill up that tool bag of rush moves. But I think it's a really good spot for him to go. Now, you have a couple options here. Do you reach on a quarterback? You have a quarterback like Sam Howell who fell to 43. You certainly could. Leo Chenal's a guy. I mean, I know the Falcons have a lot of holes, and linebacker might not be one of them. But in terms of what we just talked about, solidifying that run defense and getting after the passer, Leo Chenal can do both. 9.5 sacks, 18.5 tackles for loss, over 100 tackles on the year. He's able to do it both. I also think that they could use a wide receiver because that wide receiving room is pretty barren. Christian Watson's there. John Metchie's there. I mean, I think John Metchie will be a top 50 prospect when it's all said and done. We might have to go up and get Sam Howell because guess what? Sam Howell's another guy who's more of a developmental guy. He's coming from that RPO heavy scheme at UNC, but he's got a rocket. He's got just as big of an arm as Malik Willis. He might not be the athlete that Malik Willis is, but he's a plus athlete. I watched his tape at Wake Forest. Those linebackers couldn't tackle him. I mean, he's 6 foot, 220 pounds, and he's a beast. Thick lower half. I think it comes down to, do you want to focus on the roster build? I think a guy like Leo Chenal would be that, a young prospect who runs a 4.5 40, 260 pounds, benches 225 times, 225 pounds 35 times. Leo Chenal's a guy that's growing on me. I think Travis Jones also, when you're looking at developing a pass rush and stopping the run, I think Travis Jones offers some value here. Yeah, we're gonna go get Sam Howell. I think at 43, Sam Howell is a good prospect. He was a guy that was being talked about in the top 10 a couple weeks ago. He's got a good arm. He shows on film some throws that are like, that's an NFL throw. Like, that's an impressive NFL throw. I think he's worth a shot there at 58. Now, you have a couple really good linebackers here. Christian Harris is a guy that we have a top 50 grade on. I also kind of want to address – I do like Jamaree Salyer, I'll say that. And I know a lot of the Falcons fans are Bulldog fans as well. Jamaree Salyer is just going to be a rock solid. Darian Kennard as well. Those guys are both going to be really good, whether they play guard or tackle. I think I have them both slated at guard. They'll both be really good at the next level. Channing Tindall's a guy like. I think we can afford to wait one more round on the linebacker group. And then let's go get a guy like John Metchie at 58, who's going to be a guy you can build around. I think John Metchie is going to be a great pro at the next level in terms of being able to create separation. He's been one of the most consistent wide receivers in the last 2 years. He's gotten overshadowed a little bit by Devontae Smith, Jameson Williams, Jalen Waddle, but he's been good for a really long time. I like his game a lot. We're going to go up and take him there. This might be the pick where you go get Jamaree Salyer. When you're talking about roster building, like Jamaree Salyer is going to be a darn good football player for a long time. He was a left tackle at Georgia, a national championship winning team. I think he's definitely a guard, but he shows the tackle athleticism that you like. Now I think this is a time where you can take a look at their linebackers. We might have missed on like the top crop, but there are some linebackers that I really do like. I really do like Malcom Rodriguez. We definitely missed on that tier one of linebackers, the Quay Walkers, the Channing Tindalls. So we're gonna go back to the big board here. I do like Malcom Rodriguez kind of late round though. Nick Cross is a guy that I like. Marcus Jones is a guy that I like. I feel like we've taken him a few times. He's been a popular guy, especially when you're doing PFF ones, because I think they're a little low on him. Phidarian Mathis is a really good prospect, actually. Would it be mid-round 3? We're going to go get Marcus Jones. I get they have Cordero Patterson, so the special teams might be locked up for the next 2 years, obviously, with Cordero Patterson. But Marcus Jones was just as dominant in special teams as Cordero Patterson. But in terms of being a slot cornerback, I love Marcus Jones. Extremely twitchy, really competitive, extremely sticky. I like a lot of what he brings to the table. You're seeing him fall to round 3, round 4, because he's limited in length. 5'8" is not the prototypical cornerback, but I think he's a really good football player. And then this is a no-brainer. It's Zach Tom. Zach Tom's a guy who can play tackle, played left tackle at Wake Forest for 2 years, but he also played his first 2 years at Wake Forest at center. I think he can play guard. He was a guy that he was low on draft boards because I think he was a marginal athlete or thought to be a marginal athlete. He played center at 295 pounds his redshirt freshman year at Wake. He's a guy who tested in the upper tier of offensive linemen. He's a good athlete that people just aren't giving enough credit to. This is where I think he'll take Malcom Rodriguez, a guy that the more I watch Malcom Rodriguez, the higher I am on him. I get we missed out on some of those top linebackers, the Channing Tindalls, the Brian Osmos, the guys I really like. Malcom Rodriguez, yeah, he's 5'11". He's a little bit stiff, but he ran a 4.5 40. He benched 225 36 times. You look at him, he's just a muscle hamster. He's a football player. He brings people to the ground. That's what he does, and that's what you want as a linebacker. State champion wrestler as well, so he knows how to get people to the ground. He's one of the guys where when I watched him in summer scouting last year, he's always around the ball. You watch him this year, he's always around the football. He's got good instincts. He plays the game the right way. He plays the game hard. A guy that I'm really optimistic about developing at the next level. Again, you worry a little bit about the length. He's a little bit short-armed, 5'11". How's he going to be able to run with tight ends up the seam? That's a worry, but in round 5, I'm all right taking that flyer there. Big bully Marquand McCall. In terms of trying to bolster up that defensive line, I really like his game. Let's take a look at all the wideouts here. We got John Metchie, but I still think there's maybe room for one more guy. Jalen Naylor's a guy. Dontae Drummond's a guy I like, but I'm souring on him a little bit. Eric Azukanma from Texas Tech. If you guys like Treylon Burks, this guy's kind of like Treylon Burks in terms of being big and being fast. He didn't produce. And partially he didn't produce because that Texas Tech offense wasn't very good. I really do like Marquand McCall. I mean, he is just they call him Big Bully. That's his Instagram user ID. I might go get him. Let's bolster up that defensive line. You got Travon Walker, Marquand McCall. I like to see teams start trying to run the ball on that defensive line now. again, it's really hard to play good defense when you can't get after the passer and you can't stop the run. So we're kind of trying to address that. We got one more pick coming in at 213. Percy Butler's a guy that I like. I think he's a really good athlete. Brad Hawkins is a guy that I like. Jason Poe's a guy that to just keep an eye out for him. I like a lot of what I saw. I only saw one game against Alabama, but I do like his game. Trying to get a guy that I feel a little bit more strongly about. Let's take a look at the running backs. I do think, I mean, Cordell Patterson is a good, like he can play a running back, but I just don't know how well-rounded he is. You might want to see if you can get a running back who's a little bit more like an Abram Smith, a guy that former linebacker. He's going to give you really good reps on first and second down. He runs the ball extremely hard. He gets downhill. Snoop Connor's another guy you can lump in for that. It's just Mike Davis. He ain't it. I know he had one good year at Carolina, kind of taking over the Christian McCaffrey role, and he was getting peppered with touches, but he was never really that productive with the touches. And you saw when he got to Atlanta, like they paid him too much. It wasn't a good signing. I didn't like the signing. It's like an old running back who doesn't have that much juice to him. I think Abram Smith, in terms of getting a guy who's going to run in a straight line downhill, he's a former linebacker. He runs the ball like a linebacker. I think we could go take a little shot at him. I do want to check the cornerbacks real quick. Sorry to throw you guys a little curveball. Because there are some cornerbacks in the late round that I also do kind of like. Maybe not. Maybe not. Yeah, I do like Vinny Gray. We're going to go get Abram Smith. Let's get a little physicality on this Atlanta Falcons team. Again, Atlanta can't be affording to go out and get veteran running backs and paying them that much like they did Mike Davis. Just not worth it. Never has been. You know that's how the ROC Boys get down. We don't pay old running backs. We draft running backs. We run them into the ground, and then they can go be free agents. We'll draft another one. It sounds bad, but that's just how. I think that's how you build a roster. I mean, these rookie running backs are going to be good and give you just as much juice as Mike Davis, if not more. Get him in the third, fourth, fifth round. Hassan Haskins is another guy that you could take a look at. Let's see how PFF graded our mock. We did good. They didn't like the John Metchie pick. They didn't like reaching up on John Metchie. I have John Metchie inside the second round grade. I think it was a solid pick. A- grade. One of the better grades, again, that we've gotten for the Atlanta Falcons. One of my favorite picks. They also don't like the Zach Tom pick. They have him listed at tackle. I just don't see him playing tackle. He's one of those guys who can do it all. I like the Travon Walker fit a lot. I think this goes a long way of kind of building out a roster. I think a lot of these guys, maybe they take a year, like a John Metchie coming back from an injury. He'll take a year. Sam Howell probably takes a year to kind of get adjusted. Put Marcus Mariota in there. But I do think this was an effective way to build that roster out. I do like Marquand McCall, like that two-gapper who's just going to eat offensive linemen up. Let your linebackers go make some plays for you. Solid mock. I feel good about this mock. Obviously, I appreciate you guys for checking it out. Let us know in the comments, what did we miss on? Who should have we taken? And as usual, appreciate y'all for rocking with the ROC Boys. Go subscribe, like to the video if you guys like the content. We'll be back with plenty more college football, NFL draft content. Talk to y'all later. Peace.